Hi everyone, I will be installing the latest version of FydeOS in a dual boot setup with Arch Linux and get the Play Store working, as by default it doesn't work. You'll need a minimum 8 GB USB drive to put the FydeOS image on, and on your hard disk at least 10 GB of available space as per the documentation. There are 3 items to download. So to start, I will download the FydeOS image. Go to FydeOS.io, go to download. And there are 3 options: PC with legacy, Intel Core 3rd Gen to 7th Gen, PC with newer, Intel Core 8th Gen to 13th Gen, and PC with AMD Radeon Discrete or integrated graphics and AMD or Intel processors. So I have an AMD processor, I'll be selecting this, and then download. Now next to download is gparted, as this will allow me to shrink my partitions to make space for FydeOS. As if I go into gparted right now, and for example, let's say I want to use my /home partition and shrink it to make space for FydeOS. If I right click, go to resize move, and then let's say I want to put 20 GB free space, it still remains grayed out. And that's because the /home partition is mounted, it's live, so I won't be able to do it. So I need to download the gparted live CD so I can boot into it and make the necessary changes. So going to go to gparted.org and go download, and I'll download it here. All right, it's finished downloading. Now this is the latest version of gparted, and if it doesn't work, if it doesn't boot up, then you can use an older version of gparted. Go to sourceforge.net/projects/gparted. Go into Files, and you can go into gparted Live Stable, and then this is the latest version, 1.6.0-10, and you can download, for example, 1.5.0-6, and download the ISO. And once it's done downloading, the last item that's needed is Ventoy. Ventoy is a utility that will allow me to create a bootable USB drive for multiple ISOs. As I have the FydeOS image and I also have gparted, so instead of copying the image to the USB drive, then deleting and then copying the next one, I'll use Ventoy so I can boot between the two. So go to ventoy.net, downloads, and I'll download for Linux and download it. And once it's done downloading, go to your downloads folder, and here are all my items. First, I'm going to unextract FydeOS. I'll extract here. And next, I'm going to unextract Ventoy. Extract here. Go into Ventoy. And I'm going to run the Ventoy GUI x86-64 file. Execute. And put in my sudo password. And now I'm going to plug in my USB drive. I'm going to refresh. And my drive comes up, 256 gig drive. I'm going to go to Option. Sure secure boot supports. I'm going to change the partition style to GPT. And now I'm going to hit install and it will make it into a Ventoy bootable USB drive. Okay. All right, it's completed and we see here there's Ventoy and Vtoy EFI. Okay. And go back into Dolphin File Explorer. Scroll down and we have the removable disks, the Vtoy EFI and Ventoy. And under here, Ventoy, I'm going to put the images, the FydeOS image and gparted. Going back to downloads, here's the FydeOS image. And for me, I'm going to copy the gparted live 1.5.0-6 image. Paste. All right, you've been copied. And now I'm going to restart my computer and go into the BIOS. All right, I'm in my BIOS here, and under Secure Boot, I have it disabled. And under Boot, Fast Boot, I have it disabled. And the boot mode select is UEFI. And boot option number 1 is my USB device. All right, so it's booted into Ventoy, and I have FydeOS and gparted. So I'm going to go into gparted, boot in normal mode, gparted live, default settings. Keep the default, don't touch key map. 33 English. and 0, continue to start X to use gparted automatically. All right, and SDA3, this is my /home partition. This is the partition I'm going to shrink to make space for FydeOS. And if you don't have a /home partition, you can use the slash partition as an example and free space from there. So I'm going to shrink SDA3, right click resize, and I'll leave 100 gigs for FydeOS. Apply, close. All right, the space is now unallocated, and now I'm going to create a new partition, and this is going to be for Fyde. Right click, new, and you can leave it as default, and then hit add, and then hit apply. Close. All right, it's been created, and now I'm going to reboot and go back into Ventoy. Boot into Fyde. Select language and input method, okay. Get started. I'm going to be using Wi-Fi for this one, and if you're using wired, then it'll automatically detect. So I'm going to hit add other Wi-Fi network. Accept and continue. Going to use a local account. Local account. Okay, username and password. Next. 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 Going to uncheck. Get started. All right, going to go to the store. Installer. Add. Add app. Open the app. And multi-boot installation. And select your disk. For me, it's going to be dev SDA. And it's going to be dev SDA4, 97.7 gig, or the 100 gig partition that I made in gparted. And then the UEFI partition, leave it as default. It's going to be the 1 gig partition. It's going to be sharing with Arch Linux. Next. And so it's going to install and configure Refine for me. I'm currently using Grub in Arch Linux. So then there's going to be Grub, and then there's going to be Refined, and then hit install. Okay. All right, installation has completed successfully. So I'm going to shut down my computer, and I'm going to remove the USB drive, and then power back on the computer and go into the BIOS. All right, in my boot options, currently Refine is boot option number 2, and so I have to make sure that it's boot option number 1, and then save changes and exit in your BIOS. All right, so Refine comes up, and I have 3 options here. The first option on the left here, this will boot directly into Arch Linux. This will boot into Fyde, and this would boot into Grub, the bootloader that I have set up for Arch Linux. This option will shut down, and this option will restart my computer. So I'm going to go into Fyde, and you'll see these screens again. Just hit OK, get started. I'm going to re-add the Wi-Fi network. Accept and continue. Accept and continue. Use local account. Use local account. Put in username and password. Next. Next. Uncheck. Get started. All right, so I'm now in FydeOS. And the first thing to get the Play Store working, I'm going to activate the Android subsystem. I'm going to go notifications. Click. I accept. Launch. And I'll close. Next is to enable developer mode. Go into my settings. Go into FydeOS settings and enable developer mode. Confirm. And then restart. Go back into Fyde. Log in. Next, I'm going to disable the root file system verification. Open up a terminal, hit Ctrl Alt and T, type in shell, type in sudo-i to get root permissions, and then run the cross-system mode switch script and disable root FS verification. I'm going to ask you to reboot. Yes. Go into Fyde, log in, and now I'm going to open up GApps, go to the store, add app, open app, I agree, next, install, next, install. Okay. All right, and this is the last reboot to get the Play Store working. Go back into Fide, log in, and we see the Play Store icon at the bottom, and we see it in the menu here. Sign in. All right, so I'm in the Play Store. Go to Games, Books, Apps. So it's working as expected. And now I'm going to restart to confirm I can go into Arch Linux. All right, so this option will go directly into Arch for me, and this will go into Grub. So I'll go directly into Arch. All right, it's booted as expected. So that's it. That's how you can install the latest version of FydeOS in a dual boot setup with Arch Linux and get the Play Store working. I hope this video was useful, and I thank you for watching. Bye now.